Hello, everybody. I'm CJ Miller. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana. Across the Red River from downtown Shreveport is beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana. I'm outside on this wonderful uh, winter evening, and well, it's late afternoon, moving into evening, but I'm going to go ahead and start the dinner. It's chilly out here, it's cold, so what a nice excuse to get in and focus on some wonderful, delicious comfort food. This is going to this meal that I'm going to make tonight is going to borrow from the large chuck roast that I made last night. I made a very large chuck roast. I had thin slices of it along with a little bit of rice. It was good. It was good. But, chuck roast, if you know, is not going to give you the tenderness of, say, a sirloin or ribeye. And if you compare it to a filet, it's like filet is like, wonderful premium, and chuck is like, well, but it's really the uses of it. I know it's fine for what I was doing last night, but chuck of this size really is good for beating and tenderizing and making some sort of you know beef schnitzel or something like that in a German tradition, or what I'm going to do, which is also in a German tradition of what the Germans would call pfefferpotthast, or and I'm sure the accent is all wrong on that, but pfefferpotash, or what we would simply call over here. Well, I'll describe it. It's smaller cuts of beef, of a tougher cut of beef, uh, made for stewing, and basically cut them down, and you put them in a sauce that's basically a brown sauce, and then with the copious amounts of onion present, and maybe some other aromatics, maybe some carrots or celery or something like that or whatever. But yeah, a lot, but specifically onion. And then what you would do is you would serve this either over potato, rice, toast, that type of thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to have it, and it's going to be, very, very much what we would call in America beef tips over rice. Now, the thing is because this was such a tough uh, cut of chuck roast, what I've done is I've gone in and I've cut it kind of small, so it's bigger than a chip. It's bigger than a chipped beef, but it's not quite as large as the beef tips that would basically you would cut from the outside of the chucks to get into. In this case, literally what I did was I had the outside of the chuck last night, and so I'm using the inside. But whatever, this is a great use of some wonderful leftovers from last night's roast, and is basically what I love about it is, because I cut it, I was able to end up using most of it. What I ended up doing was cutting away anything that was had too much fat, because I want to reduce fat anyway, but also mainly for the cooking, for the texture and everything like that. So, and that's great. I've got a big pile of this cut beef inside that I'm going to go in, and I'm going to make this pfefferpotash, or we'll call it beef tips. And I've got the water boiling. I'm going to put the rice with the mirepoix vegetables, the chopped mirepoix that I get, the frozen variety, which is like frozen chopped onion, celery, bell pepper, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of this and that, but mostly the celery, onion, and bell pepper, already chopped, frozen. It's a great blend. I love to get it. It's very flexible. It works great in French cooking, but in this case, we're doing more of a German influence, and it's going to serve us well there also. So let's go inside. Got this water going, and we can turn it down. But let me pause the video while I grab the vegetables out of the freezer door. Okay, so these vegetables, they were frozen. They instantly cooled down the water. The water's still very hot though. But what I'm going to do is let this sit for a second, come back up to temperature. I want this at least a low rolling boil when I put in, and I see it's going to steam up. It's going to be in no time. It's going to be ready. I want it at a low rolling boil when I put in the long grain white rice. This is going to be the same rice that I always do, except I put vegetables in it to help with the flavor, just to give it a little something different. Okay. Now rice, typically you want to do at least 2.5 times the amount of water. Some people will call for 2 times the amount of water to rice. Say, per half cup of rice, maybe you want to do 1.5 cups of water. Or maybe per cup of rice, they'll say do 2 cups of rice. For half a cup of rice, do 1 cup of water. I want a little wiggle room. I want a little wiggle room with my rice. I know how this works. I know that I like my rice just a little bit more done than a typical al dente, but I don't like it mushy. What works for me is going 2.5 times the amount of rice. I'm going to put in just a drip of vinegar into this water. Vinegar, when it reacts to a rice that's boiling like this, what it does is it helps keep the core of the rice a little bit more firm, helps keep it from getting too mushy. For me, I think it helps maybe not even get too sticky, although we are making a beef tip in a brown sauce. So if it got a little sticky, that's okay. Putting that sauce over it was going to loosen it anyway. And right here, we are ready to add the rice. The rice is there already. The water's getting a little cooler, but look. That's about all the vinegar we should need to do what we need it to do to keep that rice firm as this is cooking. I'm going to put the lid back on. It's going to come up to a boil. When it does, and I'm just going to give it a little movement, a little shake here. It's very seldom that the Gotham steel pot holders, the handles on the pot, they don't really get very hot, the metal, so I feel comfortable. But I gently touch it with my finger first to make sure that it's not hot. That's one thing I like about these. But if they do get hot, you don't really want to fool with them too much. And then the pots, they have the rounded thumb holder here, so it's easy to grip and everything. If you are looking for a pot, especially a non-stick or any kind of cookware, you want to make sure that the grip is easy to grip and maybe a little bit curved, and maybe it can accommodate a finger or a thumb or something like that by it being slightly curved, slightly concave downwards, so that it can accommodate your grip and that you can kind of pick it right up when you need to. And something like this, a ceramic coating, I found out, I used to think these were Teflon coated, but they're ceramic. They'll go right into the oven if need be. But anyway, this is coming up to this boil. Got this a good shake around. Won't really have to disturb it, but now what we're going to do is we're going to turn it down to a simmer. The lid on here is going to help it simmer. Low medium should do it. You'll see those bubbles kind of settle down a little bit. And for this, I'm going to set a timer. When it gets to this point, I find that if I set a timer for smaller batches of rice, 15 would work. See how it's starting to bubble? So 15 would work. But what I want to do, I just let just a little of that heat out real quick. And when you do that, by the way, you be really careful. That is very scalding steam. If you're unprepared for it, it will take some of your skin off. It's very hot. I should have known. I should know better. I should approach it differently. Pull it to the side instead of pull it from the front. Okay. We want to maybe reduce this even a little bit more. I want this, yeah, this is about right. That's about right. I got it on that. Yeah. It's good to use your dials, your numbers on your dial on your range for a guide, but you really do have to just kind of watch your pots and kind of know what they're doing. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to turn on the heat, full medium for the pot that I'm using, which they call is a 8-in-1 or 9-in-1 or something like that. It's basically a pot, does everything, but because it's square and then they gave like a little basket. I'll show you. This is a steamer that you go in and you steam vegetables. It's no time at all. It got a little marked up or whatever, and then you have this basket here that you can put in for frying or whatever, and different little things. All they're basically saying is that you can cook about 8 or 9 different ways. Some of those ways are the exact same way. They're just by different names. But let me show you how this really works with heat. Ceramic coating, by the way, will move heat a lot easier than a Teflon coating. Teflon coating, if it gets too hot, will give you some noxious fumes that are not great. But also, ceramic will not give off toxic fumes. And I said noxious. We can't detect it. We don't know. We don't smell it. We don't know it. But it is toxic, especially to some small pets like birds or whatever. But ceramic does not have that effect. And basically, what I do is when I'm doing something like this in a medium-sized pot, and I'm doing a larger amount of rice, if it builds up and starts to bubble, I just kind of lift the lid away and get some of that out of there, some of the heat, and let it kind of get back to whatever. But we're right to almost a low that I'm doing this on, but the heat is accumulating so well in here because ceramic is a conductor while Teflon is an insulator. So ceramic heats up faster and also disperses heat faster than Teflon coating. So I've learned to appreciate everything that I've started to learn about ceramic, and I've been using this cookware for literally about 4 or 5 years, and just recently paid attention to the difference because I thought they were so similar. Because the instructions are the same when it comes. On the commercial that they're selling you this is Gotham Steel, but there's a bunch of stuff, and they'll sell you so many different things, so many different types of cookware, and every one of them will say, hey, you can scrape it with metal, you can do this, you can do that, everything like that. You can scratch it with a fork, see? And if you do that, oh, it does scratch. Everything that they advertise is basically false, and the ceramic or the Teflon, they all will break down eventually. And that's cool. It's a nice excuse to buy some more. The 10-year warranty that comes with it used to be a lifetime warranty, but the 10-year warranty that comes with it is basically bullshit. They say that it's under warranty, but not warranted for anything that could possibly happen, even including breaking down of the materials that are inconsistent with how they're advertised. And that's just the nature of the beasts. Okay, now we're ready. This pan's warm, so we're going to go ahead, the 9-in-1, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to begin to cook the roux that I'm going to make a very brown roux for my beef tips and rice. Here we're melting down about half a stick of butter, little bit of a beef bouillon powder, and this is a cornstarch base. I'll tell you what it is baking powder. But baking powder is mostly cornstarch, a little bit of baking soda in there for the self-rising, but it's basically cornstarch. And I wanted a more opaque kind of finish for this. Uh, I'm sorry. I wanted a less opaque finish for this. Something that's going to be a smoother consistency. So I'm using a cornstarch-based product rather than a flour, you know. And the difference is going to be obvious when you see it. But it still works. So this is very similar to a roux, which is roux is like fat, like a butter or something, rendered fat, lard or something like that, and flour made really, really brown. But let me give this a little tossing around in here. We're not going to have to add salt because there's already a saltiness to the bouillon powder, and then we're not, and even in the cornstarch there's a little bit of sodium in there. It's a bicarbonate of soda, is that baking soda. And basically what we want to do is we want to get this to a nice, it's going to be quick. It's a, you know, large bottom pan. We're going to get much of the surface of this. And it's going to be great. You're going to love this. And it's going to be relatively quick. You see that my rice pot is not bubbling over too much or anything like that. So that's good. Not really having to adjust that heat too much. What we're going to do is I'm going to pause this video. I'm going to let this, and it's getting browner. It looks browner than it does here, but I really do want to get a nice brown coating going on here. I may put in a drop or two of kitchen bouquet, not for the coloring, but for the spreading around of the effect. But what I want to do is I want to get this pretty brown first because I really want a good Maillard effect, because that's not only that caramelization is what we're talking about, but not only that, but it really does enhance the flavor of the sauce itself for what we're going to be doing. If we can get this to a really, really rich brown color, deeper than the blonde color that I sometimes make with the roux. And henceforth, I'm not putting any cream in here, so this is not a bacamel. This is just a roux that we use with vegetables, and if it were French, it'd be like a I forget the name of it, Bellecour or Bellete or something like that. I'll whatever. But basically, this is a German style, so I'm not even worried about the name of the French mother sauces, and it's not even truly a roux because I've used not flour, but I've used cornstarch. Because that baking powder is cornstarch with added baking soda and a little added salt. Okay, so cornstarch, basically, and sodium bicarbonate, bicarbonate. So, and your sodium aluminum, which is, this your salt. It's going to give it a saltiness. You don't need to add salt, but just as I've taught, we're seeing an enriched color coming on here. I'm going to give this a quick stir. And this is right at the point that I want to come in and put some water in. So let me get some water, and I'll pour it in. There we go, a good sauce set to thicken. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a drop or two of the kitchen bouquet. And right now it's giving a drop or two of that kitchen bouquet, and then I'm going to put in some of the mirepoix, some of the chopped vegetables directly in here. In a moment, I'm going to turn this down, but I'm going to keep it a high now. I did add the bouillon, the beef bouillon, what I want to do next is I want to have two more elements to add. One would be the vegetables, and one would be the chopped beef that I did for the beef tips. And I'm going to add the beef here first. And you can see this is nearly, even though it's brown, it's almost translucent. This is the lighter. I wanted a deep, rich brown, but I wanted a texture that was going to be more translucent rather than opaque, because it indicates, even though it's a powerhouse of flavor, there's a certain smoothness that comes with this. And try it out, you'll see what I mean. On this higher heat, it's going to foam like this. Once I turn it down and put the other elements in that I'm about to begin, it's going to resist bubbling up and foaming like this. See that? A lot of chopped beef. Just kind of stir this in. And this chopped beef is going to drink up this fluid, so I'm going to end up adding a little bit more water. We've got vegetables in the rice, but also I'm going to add vegetables to this pot. Okay, so the vegetables are in. My timer is telling me that the rice is finished. Can I show you what this rice looks like? In just a moment. We get this all stirred. Want to let this sit. I'm actually going to set a timer for this, and I want this to go for at least 30 minutes. At least. Because there are, just the more this cooks, the more tender these, bites of beef are going to be. And this is a very hearty sauce that's going to go over this brown rice. And this fluid is going to cook up, and it's going to condense. It's going to be very thick. And because this is a main meal rather than a side dish, it needs to be heartier. It needs to be thicker. If I were serving this on the side of, say, like a roast turkey or roast anything or something like that, and I was just doing this as a side dish or as a pre-course or something like that, then certainly it could be a thinner consistency. I just kind of like, here's a little mold of rice with some brown sauce with the occasional beef tip and aromatic vegetable over it. But because this is actually going to be the main dish, then I would want it to be thicker and heartier like this. If you want to put something else in it, you want to put a couple of tomatoes in it, put a couple of tomatoes in it, or a little scoop of tomato base or something like that, or whatever. When it gets done a little bit, I'll give it a taste, but I'm pretty sure it's right where it needs to be. And let's come over here and let me let you look at this vegetable. I mean, the rice with the vegetable on top of it. This is perfectly steamed rice. What I tell you about that 2.5 amount, and I turned it down on low, and then what's going to happen, give this just a nice toss around, cover it back up, and then wait till I'm ready to eat it, and it's going to be perfect. It's actually already perfect. Let me get something to taste it. I don't want to use I don't want to use the same cooking utensil that I'm using. I can go back and forth because I'm going to be serving the rice in the gravy or whatever. I can go back and forth with that same spatula. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to eat the food, taste it, and then go right into go right back. I don't want to eat it and then stir the food or whatever. That's especially if you're cooking with other people, that would not be sanitary. Okay, probably wouldn't matter so much if you're just cooking for yourself like me, but whatever. If I'm making a video, I want to be a good example. So this rice is perfectly done. Perfectly done. And look, that's a lot of rice that it yields. But we just want to give it a quick toss and then cover it back up and remove it from this heat, by the way, so that it doesn't continue to cook or scorch on the bottom by accidents. Just a word about my chore. It's day number 2, really, and I'm still sorting out these recipe cards. These are all the recipe cards that I have yet to sort out. This is a pile I'm less likely to use, and this is the one I would love to use all the time. So, I'm going to finish this out, and then I'll be trying out some of these recipe card recipes from the 1980s. Isn't that wonderful? That's when my mother started collecting these. I think, yeah, it would be 1980 she started collecting these. I don't know how it is. I mean, there's like, it was a box, and it's very old box, but it's all inclusive. And back in the day, people would use recipe cards rather than recipe books or whatever, or they would look through the recipe books and then they would find the recipes that they would like, and then they would index it on index cards. And this is a variation on that. And a lot of times they would be, hey, we're going to send you every week or something like that, we're going to send you a group of cards so that you can try these out or something like that. I don't know. Cooking for the homemaker used to be a really big deal. Really big deal. And this is kind of a holdover from that, because the homemaker would not only cook for the family, but she would do the hosting or he, I guess it could be he, whomever, but typically it was the she. And it would be the hosting for the company parties and things like that. Hey, the boss is coming over, you got to pull something together real quick or something like that. And it was the plight of the homemaker who had finished her chores for the evening and had planned on a light dinner, easy for 2 dinner or something like that. And then she'd be able to just do the quick cleanup after the dinner, and then her job for the day would be done, because her job goes on really longer than the typical going out. I'm mad respect for the homemaker, because I've been in that role. I've been the person to take care of the house while people have been out, and it is an all day long thing, and you really just don't get a lot of downtime. If you're It's one thing if you're single, but if you're taking care of an entire family, that's a lot of work. And I've done domestic work, and so yeah, it's a job that doesn't stop, and you're always on call. And so, can you imagine like thinking, well, cool, now we can relax, but then you get that last minute, oh hey, by the way, people are going to be over in about an hour or so, and we're going to be expecting a really good meal, and it looks good for the company, and I'm vying for that promotion, so let's put on let's put on something, so you got to be able to get into the kitchen really, really quick, pull something together, be done within about 45 minutes to an hour, and have like a couple of courses ready to go, with the final dessert course or something going into the working as you're sitting at the table or whatever. It's it's not something that I'd want to do today, except I do have parties every few months. I have people come over and we have fun, and it's great to do that, show off, and food is not love, but it is a way that we can let people know, hey, I love you, and I'm being thoughtful of you, and this is what's going on. So it's not food. So it's food. It's not love. But when you come to my home and I cook for you, it's a way that I can let you know, hey, by the way, I do love you, and let me provide some nourishment and in an entertaining and fun way. I want people to have a little bit of a little bit of an adventurous experience while also providing comfort and staples that are familiar. I want them to feel at home, but I want them to have a fun time with the food that I prepare, you know. And so I always talk with people and I find out what their tastes are, and I kind of plan around the collective taste, and I try to find something. I try to at least, especially with the holiday meal, I want to have at least something. Let me have at least one of your favorites. And maybe I can't have everything that's going to be the favorite, but I can have just one thing to make you feel at home if you're coming to my house, rather than going to your own family's home for some sort of meal or something like that. You know. But anyway, it's fun to do this every once. As you can tell, I just started talking about this uh, a couple of weeks ago. Hey, it's about time I put something together, and already I'm having fun and planning, and getting it together. That's half of the fun for me. Okay, um, let's go outside. How wonderful! Before I came out, I ran over to the stove, gave that pot a quick stir, and a gentle tasting of the sauce, the meat sauce, the beef tip sauce. And what I realized was that, these onions and everything, they give off a nice sweetness once they start to cook. Those sugars from the onions kind of release and kind of gives it a natural sweetness. Uh, well, what would work well with that would be a good balance of basil. So I put in some dried basil in there, and so I did add that, but I did that off camera. Well, probably about a tablespoon worth of basil for that pot, and then it's got to, like I said, finish cooking. Probably about another 20 minutes to go. I'm actually going to save the tasting for a little bit later, though. Um, because it's not time for me to eat yet, but it's going to be ready. But this is also a time that, if you are one of those homemakers or you're doing for a family and you're taking care of a kitchen, while you've only got this one thing to do, you got a little free time. That's the time when you can go ahead and clean your prep area, your sink, and everything like that. Everything that you used to prepare this meal. Uh, if you chopped your own vegetables instead of buying them chopped or something like that or whatever, it's a good time to go ahead now and clean that area, in keeping with that old adage that a good cook cleans as he goes, and that way it's just a lot less to do after the meal when you've had your meal with everybody else, and everybody else is like fat, dumb, and happy and lying around and resting, all satiated. You don't have to get back up and go back in the kitchen and finish it. If you're lucky enough to hire help, then you don't have to worry about that. Most of us do not. I used to be the hired help. So, yeah. Okay, love and light, and yeah, God bless. Oh, this is a very versatile treatment. This, if you had large ground beef patties, and you made just large ground beef patties, large hamburger patties, and you wanted to do something other than a typical hamburger, you could lay these hamburger patties out, and then you could take this um, beef tip sauce or chipped beef sauce, either way you want to call it, and you basically could ladle it over the line of chipped beef as a bit of saucy garnish, and it would look lovely, especially when surrounded by a palette of rice with mirepoix in the rice. I'm not going to worry about that presentation because basically I don't have ground beef patties, but that would definitely work. That would definitely work. And you'd have this. That's just one more way that you could step it up, you know. Um, fun ways to do uh, food that we have every day in some sort of way, either a hamburger steak or a hamburger. Maybe we want to dress it up and do something different. Maybe somebody wants to have hamburger, but maybe they're on a keto diet like I am. So maybe you don't put the rice down. Maybe you just surround your lines, a couple of lines of large hamburger patties that have been well cooked, and then you surround them by with some carrots. What else? Maybe some carrots and whatever. Uh, yeah, just surrounded by leaf, a green leaf, and carrots that have been cooked, sliced in medallions, and kind of lined around in a circumference around the two lines of about 8 hamburger patties, hamburger steaks in each line, and then you could take this beef and you could just go a thin drizzle across each one of those lines, because it would look so beautiful. And you even could do a couple of uh, small potatoes or something like that, uh, that wouldn't throw someone over their keto. But yeah, if you just someone that's there's all sorts of ways to make everyday normal food look a little bit more interesting, you know. And my philosophy is, sure, play with your food, have fun with it. And that's it for me. Bon appetit. Good night. Ciao, Bella.